Zoom in on that here in a second, and then you can see him walking out on his phone behind the tent. Charlie is getting loaded into the van, and Mikey is seen over here, back turned on the phone. This is weird, right? But even weirder is this. Zooming in closer, Mikey's reaction right when Charlie was shot. Look, he pulls his phone out to his ear without even pressing any buttons. Watch closely. Arms folded, phone right to his ear.
Mikey McCoy's wife has just shared messages that could flip the entire Charlie Kirk situation in a totally unexpected direction. And now insiders are saying Erika Kirk is doing everything she possibly can to keep her from speaking out, and the behind-the-scenes tension is unreal. The latest leaked clips show something seriously unusual about Mikey's behavior, and his wife seems completely done covering anything up. She looks ready to reveal everything. But this is exactly where things start heating up. Erika reportedly doesn't want any of this reaching the public, and the steps she's said to be taking to keep things quiet are honestly surprising. People online won't stop discussing it. They're replaying that leaked footage again and again, catching every strange moment, every tiny detail that just doesn't sit right. You're about to see exactly why the internet is losing its mind over this. The videos, the odd timelines, the confusing background audio. None of it lines up the way you'd expect. And once you hear about that mysterious getaway that happened only weeks before Charlie's passing, everything becomes even more intense. The timing alone has people raising serious questions. Now, I'm not here to tell you what to believe, but when you look at all the pieces together, the whole story starts feeling way too tangled to ignore. If even a small part of these leaks is accurate, it paints a picture that someone close might have been aware of far more than they admitted. And the deeper I go, the stranger it gets. It's like every answer opens 10 new questions. Nothing fits together cleanly. The timelines clash, and the voices that should be giving the clearest explanations are staying completely silent, so silent that it's louder than any excuse could ever be.
He, in less than a second, does something that I find to be quite strange. He puts his phone to his ear, and he begins a conversation. So we're going to watch that clip in its entirety. Mark is going to bring it in. That it is exactly 834 milliseconds from the time that you hear the shot. That is how long it takes for Mikey McCoy.
Susanna Constantine recently appeared on the podcast Spooning with Mark Wogan, and the conversation shifted toward her earlier experiences around the royal household. When Wogan asked a straightforward question, whether the former Duke of York is simply misunderstood, her reaction was immediate and striking. She replied that Andrew comes across as uninformed and overly self-important. She added that he behaves as if the world owes him something and carries himself with an attitude suggesting he operates above ordinary expectations. She emphasized that this kind of entitlement is, in her view, one of the most concerning traits a person can display. She also made it clear she holds no personal resentment and has no intention of stirring drama for attention. Her comments came across as measured, honest, and based on genuine observation rather than exaggeration or bias, making her statement all the more significant.
To put the phone to his ear. Now, why is that precise timing so important? Because there's no dialing. Mikey didn't have time to dial, okay? You can't dial and put your phone to an ear in 0.834 seconds. Yeah, when the clip was brought to my attention, I obviously have a file. I have a big folder of files of every angle, and I decided to track Mikey from every angle available to see, like, maybe we just missed it, and he did at some point put that phone down, dial a number, speed dial, hold down one, I don't know.
Constantine spent 6 years connected to the royal circle, navigating that world with care while maintaining a respectful relationship with her former partner, the second Earl of Snowdon. When someone with that level of proximity and discretion chooses to speak openly, it naturally draws attention. She also raised questions about how Andrew secured a helicopter license, explaining that the process is extremely demanding and noting that her own son serves in the Royal Navy, giving her first-hand understanding of the strict standards involved. Her remarks implied she believes he was guided through opportunities that would have been closed to others without similar influence. That observation connects directly to a broader pattern associated with Andrew for decades, the idea that expectations and responsibilities applied differently to him. That he anticipated status, access, and respect simply due to his background rather than through earned merit. And eventually, that mindset caught up with him. Constantine did offer a small thread of empathy, acknowledging that growing up as the spare in a royal family creates its own challenges. Immense privilege comes without clear purpose, and personal identity is often shaped by circumstances rather than choice. Yet she quickly returned to the main point, emphasizing that no circumstance excuses the level of entitlement she witnessed firsthand. Her perspective echoes what many who once knew him have said, that his conduct appeared to come from something deeper than upbringing alone, something consistent across years and across relationships. In contrast, she and Wogan spoke warmly of Princess Beatrice and Princess Eugenie, calling them grounded, kind, and thoughtful. Constantine noted that raising daughters with such balanced character says something positive about their upbringing. The contrast highlights a central puzzle of Andrew's public image. Two daughters admired for their sincerity, yet parents long associated with poor decisions, defensiveness, and ongoing controversy.
He died, Mikey McCoy and his wife Eliza, for the very first time. Now, this is according to Eliza McCoy. She shared that it was the first time ever that they went on vacation. Her and Mikey went on vacation with Erika and Charlie. Here's that post on Instagram. That second paragraph begins, "We spent a few weeks together this summer, our first family trip together." Okay, getting real close there. And while they were on this very first time together.
Now we turn to another voice from Andrew's earlier years, one that reveals how long-standing many of these traits may have been. Decades before any major controversy surfaced, a woman who knew him in the early 1980s warned that his attitude would eventually create serious problems for him. Her name was Vicky Hodge, an actress and model who crossed paths with Andrew in Barbados in 1983. Older, more experienced, and far more familiar with the world, she noticed concerning signs almost immediately. According to biographer Andrew Loney, her first impressions were anything but flattering. She remembered Andrew telling endless jokes that fell flat, jokes he seemed to find amusing only because he enjoyed hearing himself talk. The following day, when they met again, he was swimming freely in the sea without a single concern about modesty, giving the impression of someone who enjoyed attention and acted without clear boundaries. They went on to have a brief 10-day romance. She described him as playful but immature, overly sure of his own charm, and eager to impress. He even told her he cared for her deeply, only to disappear the moment he left on a yacht. No call, no message, no contact. Only weeks later, she spoke to the Mirror and delivered comments that now seem astonishingly accurate. She said Andrew was strong-willed and rarely accepted guidance unless it aligned with what he already wanted. She added that he needed someone firm enough to steer him away from choices that could embarrass both himself and the wider royal family. Looking back, her words read almost like a prediction. No one at the time could have imagined how closely her observations would mirror the challenges he would face decades later, losing honors, stepping back from public life, and becoming seen internationally as a figure whose actions created ongoing complications for the monarchy.
For a couple of weeks vacation, something moved the McCoys to capture intimate and sweet moments of the Kirk family from behind the scenes. Now, you know which footage I'm talking about. It's the footage that has since gone viral of Charlie walking with his children and Erika. Erika grabs his hand. Actually, a very sweet moment, and it moved a lot of us. People were, I was crying when I first saw this footage a couple of days after Charlie died.
Yet her description fits the wider pattern with remarkable precision. She portrayed someone resistant to growth, unwilling to accept guidance, and unable to recognize consequences until they arrived at full force. These two women, separated by more than 40 years in Andrew's life, highlighted the same recurring traits: a sense of entitlement, a lack of awareness, an air of superiority, youthful behavior that lingered into adulthood, and a tendency to disregard advice. Their accounts align seamlessly with what former staff members, authors, and insiders have voiced across the years. There have been stories of outbursts, disrespect, questionable humor, and extravagant spending paired with unusual travel decisions. Each memory adds to a long record of actions that pushed boundaries simply because he expected everything to bend around him. That is what makes the recent remarks from Susanna Constantine so significant. They are not isolated observations. They fit into a long, consistent portrait that has been forming for decades.
I want you to feel hurt by all these horrible things. We know that you have a responsibility. You're a young man. And I just want you to take a deep breath, like I said, and you know what? Let them spin their conspiracy theories. You're a good kid. You had instructions to call Erika. Charlie had a team that jumped right in there. I know that team. And we just got to move on. We got to push them moving on, and let's get to these midterms.
Yeah, that's right. Thank you, Bernadette. It's crazy. It's just, I remember taking the last picture I took of Charlie was at 12:23. I did, in fact, call Erika momentarily afterwards. But thank you, Bernadette. That's very encouraging to hear from you.
You be encouraged, and you keep going, because we need you. And we need that team to take a deep breath and get your pants on and get run.
Andrew's behavior at private gatherings has been described by multiple witnesses as crude, immature, and almost always directed toward women. Numerous accounts from former guests and insiders paint a consistent picture of a man who treated social occasions as stages for shock value and personal amusement, rather than spaces for respect or connection. One particularly vivid story involves Andrew sneaking up behind a well-known woman and unzipping her dress in front of the room, treating the incident like a party trick. The room reportedly went silent, tension thick in the air, but for Andrew, it was a performance, a way to assert control and generate attention. Other stories go even further, describing moments in which Andrew allegedly shoved a young guest's face into a plate of food while laughing as if the person's discomfort was the entertainment itself. These accounts, which stretch from his late teens into his adult years, suggest a deeply ingrained pattern, one where humiliation and boundaries were treated as obstacles to be toyed with rather than respected. Staff and attendees consistently noted that Andrew seemed to thrive on testing limits, particularly around younger women who were unlikely to question his actions or confront him. His behavior appeared to be a blend of entitlement and audacity, a sense that his royal status placed him above the usual rules of conduct, that privilege and access made consequences irrelevant. Witnesses described crude jokes, physical pranks, and repeated breaches of decorum that would be unthinkable for most people, let alone a member of the royal family. One of the most striking details repeated across multiple reports is that Andrew never seemed embarrassed or remorseful. Rather, he appeared energized by attention, even when it came at someone else's expense. He seemed to draw power from the reaction of those around him, relishing the discomfort and shock of his audience, as though it validated his presence and reinforced his sense of superiority. These stories are not isolated incidents. They form a broader narrative of a man whose immaturity, disregard for others, and sense of self-importance were visible long before any public scandals made headlines. They indicate a pattern of behavior where privilege was used not responsibly, but as a shield to justify misconduct and avoid accountability. Andrew Mountbatten Windsor lived a life defined by access, influence, and unearned favor. He was surrounded by wealth, authority, and opportunities that most people could only imagine. Yet instead of cultivating empathy, responsibility, or a sense of purpose, he often used that position to manipulate situations, assert dominance, and entertain himself at the expense of others. Today, those same patterns have contributed to his fall from public grace. He has no official role in public life, no formal titles, and faces ongoing pressure to vacate Royal Lodge. But even as his status diminishes, the echoes of past behavior continue to surface through the accounts of those who observed him closely. New revelations continue to emerge from those who were in his orbit, each reinforcing the same image: a man who consistently placed his desires above decorum, empathy, and duty. The internet and social media have amplified these narratives, with former guests, staff members, and insiders sharing anecdotes, photographs, and videos that support the long-standing claims about Andrew's behavior. Each news story seems to confirm what many suspected, that Andrew's behavior was not a series of random missteps, but a consistent pattern spanning decades. Viewers and followers of these stories often point to the same troubling elements: how someone in a position of privilege could repeatedly ignore boundaries, how humor and charm were used as tools to deflect criticism, and how repeated reinforcement from those around him enabled this behavior to continue unchecked. The impact of such behavior extends beyond mere anecdote. It has implications for the way the royal family is perceived, how members are held accountable, and the broader conversation around privilege, responsibility, and public conduct. These accounts are a reminder that actions, especially from those in positions of power, rarely exist in isolation. They have consequences that ripple outward, affecting relationships, reputations, and public trust. Andrew's story serves as both a cautionary tale and a window into the challenges of growing up in an environment defined by privilege and expectation. It is a portrait of a man whose upbringing and position may have insulated him from immediate consequences, but could never shield him from the long-term effects of repeated misconduct. His story is continually evolving, with new chapters emerging as more insiders come forward. More details are leaked, and the public gains insight into behavior that was once hidden behind closed doors. Every revelation, every testimony, every leaked clip contributes to a mosaic of understanding, giving the public a clearer view of the consequences of unchecked entitlement and disregard for others. Let me know your thoughts in the comments. I read every single one. If you want continuous coverage of these unfolding royal scandals and the hidden stories behind closed doors, subscribe and turn on notifications. More chapters are coming, and every single detail will be examined and analyzed. This is not just a story of privilege. It is a story of accountability, of patterns repeating across time, and of the inevitable reckoning that follows when actions, no matter how shielded by wealth or status, begin to collide with reality. Andrew's past is not just a collection of anecdotes. It is a study in the consequences of power, entitlement, and repeated misjudgments. As the leaks continue and the stories emerge, it becomes clearer that the narrative is far from over. Observers, historians, and insiders alike continue to dissect every detail, from personal interactions to public appearances, all pointing toward a man whose life has been shaped by unearned privilege and whose fall has been equally dramatic. The contrast between Andrew's life of opportunity and the personal failings observed by those around him provides critical lessons in behavior, influence, and the consequences of unchecked entitlement. As new sources come forward, as videos and stories are shared, the picture only becomes more intricate, more compelling, and more undeniable. The story of Andrew Mountbatten Windsor is not merely a tale of privilege or scandal. It is a window into a life where entitlement overshadowed responsibility, where public persona concealed private recklessness, and where the long-term consequences were as inevitable as they were severe. Every account, every memory, every leaked detail adds another layer to understanding, and this narrative will continue to evolve as long as new voices are willing to share their experiences.